Hey everybody, I just wanted to have a sincere conversation today about 5 things that we're doing to prepare for the potential real estate crash, which right now just feels like a pretty severe slowdown. It feels like we've crashed into a wall, but prices haven't really started crashing. But if you watched the last video we posted about sort of what's going on in the market, what to look for in the market, that point that you're looking for, that bubble indicator, then you kind of already have an idea of the statistics that prices have already started falling, and so as a result, we would be crazy not to start preparing ourselves for that possibility. Keep in mind, we are a real estate family. Lauren's income and my income are tied to the whims of the real estate market, so if the market falls, our income goes down and our ability to support our family and make our payments is reduced. Therefore, it would be ridiculous for us not to adjust. Now, this doesn't mean you want to have a poverty mindset where you cut all forms of effort and advertising and all of a sudden you're not making any money anyway and you've basically just self-fulfilled the prophecy that congratulations, you are now going into a recession. But a market fall is a time for refinement, and as a result, we have this list of 5 things that I thought I'd sort of touch on and give you an idea about how we are personally evaluating, reevaluating, changing and modifying exactly what it is we're doing, and thought, hey, why not share that with you, since a lot of you folks might also be thinking, how should I position myself? What things should I keep in mind in terms of the ideas I have given the market we're going into? And I have a lot of ideas myself too. Number 1 on the list talks about the new house and warehouse question that we have on our mind. A property came up on the market in our same neighborhood that we would love to move into, but we're deciding not to chase that now because it doesn't make sense to increase our expenses, our main base living expenses, the most important asset, the house. Compared to all the rental properties, the one you're living in, that's the one that's the most painful to not have. We don't want to increase our monthly payment on that. Our payment on this house is like $2,950. On that, our payment will go up to like $5,200. Could we do it? Yeah, but do we want to? No, not if the market's going to be weird and funky like this. So that doesn't make sense. And I would keep that in mind. If you're out there buying and you're thinking of buying a home for yourself, maybe be a little bit more conservative with the payment that you're willing to have. Maybe don't stretch or push yourself as much as you ordinarily might consider acceptable. We also have a warehouse that we use for staging furniture, and I'll talk about staging in a second, but we're going to sell that warehouse. In fact, we bought it for $207,000, and we put about $15,000 of work into it to customize it for us and our storage needs. Now we're selling it for $199,000, which is a loss of like $23,000. A little bit of a bummer, but the payment is $1,650 on it. We could only rent the property for maybe $1,200, and I don't really have that much optimism for warehouse space or commercial space in the future, especially as the internet continues to mine away the impact or necessity of commercial buildings. So I look at this and say, hey, cut that one out. It's clearly a loser. Why not cut that payment out and not have the obligation to not only repair and maintain that property, but support a negative cash flow on a property that was okay for us to use as a business, but really isn't necessary. So we're basically cutting the fat. It does no difference, zero difference to our business. So we're cutting that. I know it's very popular for Grant Cardone to say, oh, if you're cutting, you're losing. If you're cutting, you're dying. No. Don't be like everybody else and not refine or trim fat. That's a solid death sentence. The other thing we're doing is we're looking at sort of some complementary services that we provide, like staging, as maybe things that aren't really fundamental or necessary to our business that we wouldn't otherwise be able to outsource. So for example, as a real estate family, we had a bunch of staging equipment and a bunch of staging furniture. In fact, we still do. That was the point of the warehouse, and would give us the flexibility to take a listing and stage it really quickly, which we could still do because Lauren still has her staging skills and design set. But rather than having all of our own furniture, we'll keep our artwork. Maybe we only stage when we rent furniture, which is totally fine, or we just outsource and partner with a professional stager that has the furniture and has the warehouse space. So this is another example of refining in business where we want to provide this other service, but we're doing everything in-house. Well, let's outsource a little bit And then that way we only have the costs when we need them. Number 3, paying off lines of credit. I don't recommend paying off 30-year fixed rate mortgages where you have a positive cash flow on the property, but I highly recommend taking this opportunity to start paying off lines of credit that you can reduce their balance on. All of a sudden now, you're not paying interest on those balances anymore, and your mandatory minimum monthly payment on those lines of credit reduces. So if we have a $40,000 business line of credit, I'm paying that thing off. So that way now I have that $40,000 available in case I come up with a new idea for the business or there's an opportunity to take advantage of investment-wise. The same is true for a home equity line of credit or a rental property line of credit, which could be $100,000 or $125,000 or $50,000. Watch my line of credit video to see more about that right here. Number 4, I'm recommending sell the losers and hold and keep the optimistic ones. So I'm not optimistic about the commercial warehouse, so we're selling it. However, I am very optimistic about the YouTube flip and the amount of effort and work we put into that property. So maybe rather than sell that at a break even, it might make sense to keep it as a rental property and keep it for the long term. I'm always looking at real estate with a 30-year mindset. Here's why I say keep quality. Right now, the YouTube flip, if we decided to sell it at a break even of $630,000, I'm going to set aside 7% to get that property sold. 7% equates to $44,100. Now you might think, oh my gosh, there's no way the closing costs are 7%, but I'm actually including some repair costs in that as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we had about $5,000 in requests for repair that came up for things that we didn't really complete and we originally went into the project knowing we would not complete, like a furnace or some additional roofing updates or some other things that we just didn't get to. And we're going to disclose that we didn't do those things because we just couldn't go in and say we're going to do everything, but we're setting some money aside to try to eliminate as much of that concern as possible. So knowing that, looking at a 7% cost to sell, it might make more sense just to keep the property and rent it and ride through whatever fluctuations there are in the market because we know it's a great property. We know we've now renovated it to withstand the next 20 years without significant repairs because we've done so many upgrades, like replacing the plumbing system and so much else, that we feel very confident that this property could be a very quality keeper. We're also optimistic about the long run for single-family real estate. On the other hand, like what I mentioned regarding the warehouse, we're not extremely optimistic about commercial warehouse space. So what's our point of view? Sell that. This is a good thing for you to keep in mind as well. Keep quality and sell the crap. So if you've got property that you're thinking about selling, ask yourself, is it in a really, really good area that you see a great future for? Or did you buy in an area that's not so good just because you wanted some cash flow? Maybe now's the time to cut that because you don't want to be in a bad area at the same time as the market is going bad. Just thought. Last one on the list, grow where the profit is. Whether you're an investor or you are somebody that's running a business, you want to focus in more difficult, more challenging times on growing, but growing where it makes sense to grow. It's generally not the best time to experiment on things that might end up being money losers when times are tough. Because when times are great, experimenting on things even when they lose can be great because you get that idea off the table, and generally greater profits in other parts of your business can make up for that. But to try a losing idea while the economy is losing, or the real estate market is losing, or whatever business you're in is losing, generally not the best idea. Instead, and we're going to take the Grant Cardone thing here because I don't want you to think I'm completely against what Grant Cardone says, which is don't cut when things are going down. I think that's easy to say as somebody giving advice, but the bottom line is Grant came from car sales and you still sold less cars in a recession no matter what your mindset was. But I will agree, don't cut advertising and don't cut your mindset where the profit is. Just don't get distracted by things that are not driving profit. So I really hope that helps. I hope you like this a little bit more kind of personal idea, business focused, investing focused quick one-on-one-ish video here. If, of course, you have questions, hit me up on Instagram, RealMeatKevin. Follow me there. Of course, if you haven't, subscribe here as well. Hit that little like button. It makes me feel really good, makes me want to get more of these videos out, and I gotta get out of this office so I can actually go film some vlog-style content, because that's what you folks said on Instagram you wanted. I kind of like doing those too. So let's go do it.